You ever feel like your brain has 17 browser tabs open and one of them is playing a music or a video and you can't find it? Yeah, I'm not the first person to say it, but I'm definitely feeling it right now, and I've been overthinking everything lately. Again, I've been overthinking this very video for way too long, and the irony is not lost on me. So, this episode may be a little bit different in talking about overthinking marketing. No giant tips list, no roundup, no big aha moments. Well, maybe not. Just a little behind the scenes of check in from me on what it can be like and what's worked in the past to get me back on track. Just one human to another. So, the truth is, I guess my train rolled off the tracks or the car got stuck in the mud, literally, figuratively, metaphorically speaking, lately. Life's been lifing, business, brain fog, all of it colliding together in the way that only certain times of year can, or certain times of life, or hell, even any given Wednesday. I face some hard hitting anniversaries. Following up after the really big energy, the awesomeness of my key annual event, the Mighty Content Challenge, and then a little bit of that slow recovery afterwards. I've also got some big travel coming up. And no, I am not, absolutely not in any of that binge working to get ahead mode. I'm surrendering right now to the season, the slowdown, and the good enough for me plan. I started the Overthinking marketing series, the videos and the podcast, to help folks, my mighty pals, as solopreneurs in business, facing life, being that sandwich generation, to help stop us from spinning and get back into motion of some kind. And yet, here I was spinning again. Because the honest truth is, that's just sometimes what real business looks like. So I've gone back to some things that help me in the deeper, darker moments, shall we say, the biggest and worst slowdowns and fog and stuckness in business and in life during my grief and burnout seasons when energy was so precious and doing more or doing the most wasn't on the table, when it wasn't even a matter of overthinking, it was a matter of I couldn't think at all. And I'm calling this my MVP, my minimum viable plan, or the minimum week. And it's not all that unlike the idea behind the minimum viable product. You may have heard that or read about that years ago in the lean startup methodology from Eric Ries, who explained it in his big influential book, The Lean Startup. The idea is that rather than spending lots of time behind shipping a course and you're not sure if anybody wants it, you get the minimum viable product out there. Well, I was trying to do the minimum viable steps in my business that didn't overwhelm me, that didn't leave me stuck, and that maybe got me forward even an inch or a step at a time. Because honestly, it's a big giant myth that most of us can willpower ourselves into work, into doing something, that we can just willpower or force ourselves into a rhythm, especially not when we're in the middle of a muddy mess. We need help. We need frameworks. We need systems. We need support. We need to figure out ways that we can be consistent with our own energy, brains, and lives. But honestly, the details of that, those are other videos. Legit. But sometimes we just need something more basic to keep in our back pocket that we can return to. So, like maybe the really basic bare minimum framework, the truly minimum. And that's where I've returned myself again. In the worst days, like I said, of the grief and the fog, at the gentle urging of some other solopreneurs when I came into a meeting and I didn't know what I was expecting and I ended up venting, they gave me some ideas that became my MVP. in my back pocket a short list of 3 to 5 things that I would try to hit in any given week, and not necessarily all business. What does that actually look like? Well, sometimes it could be sending one email, even if that's to one single person, not your newsletter, not sales emails, not giant automations. Just send one, reach out. I held the space for my mastermind group. I tried to work on learning one small thing each week, not the entire course, just a video, a worksheet. I told myself I would be in community once a week. Sometimes that looked more like once a month. And that could be a community in real life or it could be a community online. And I wrote down and I said that I was going to move, read, and rest. I'm working on basically checking those boxes of the minimum, but really gently. And sometimes that one thing wasn't sending an email, it was just doing one business task. Any task, just just one business task. And yes, I color coded these things. And I put them on my printed calendar. So yeah, I printed out my Google Calendar and I color coded the things at the top. Sometimes I'd write down one task to do each day ahead of time, maybe a few days at a time on the calendar. And then I would go back in that color and check it off. Did I do my business task? Check it off in red. Did I have my space where I held from my mastermind? Check it off in green. Did I learn something? Check it off in blue. There's a lot of science and psychology there about the whole physical thing of printing, writing, checking off. I'll also say that, look, sometimes I wrote the thing down after I did it and then checked it off. So, like I said, each week I had one thing in green that was my marketing mastermind that I had been holding for several years at that point. That was my one standing call every Monday. And continuing to have that one thing even kept me grounded. I feel like my people were there for me as much as I was there for them. And it helped make everything else a little bit easier to very gently plan around. It was a slow rolling, very gentle wave of momentum, not the big kahuna cowabunga type of surfing, our content wave and marketing. Truth moment here. You do not need the ultimate strategy when you are stuck or you are in an overthinking mode. You don't need to plan out new multi-step funnels. You do not need to be working on 3-month long evergreen automation series. You need one thing. You need one action, one thing that helps you stay minimally visible, one thing that is aligned and easy to do. Don't push yourself to try something that everybody else has been saying you should do, because then you're going to be fighting the energy, the stuckness, and the overthinking. Nothing new. Do something you've already known. And if email is it for you, go back to that. If it's writing a blog post per month, go back to that. If it's easier for you to speak rather than to write, do that. Repurpose the hell out of content you already created when you weren't stuck. Yes, reshare the same email, the same post. Just change it minimally. Share a behind the scenes moment like this, letting everybody know that, yeah, you're human. You could just send that one email. I remember I told my people, my community, my email list, I was stuck. I was in the darkest of it. And I'm like, look, you're not going to hear from me weekly right now, or 2 times a week, or 3 times a week. You're going to hear from me maybe once a month. And everybody was good with that. If you can make the gentle ask in that one email, that video, that post, inviting someone to join your list, inviting them to join your online community, to pick up your freebie, listen to a podcast, watch a video, great. But honestly, just staying present counts. Sometimes it's just doing the things gets you out of that ultimate overthinking everything kind of moment. You need to figure out for you what's your minimum viable plan. Like I said, for me, it helped that I had one business task per day that I was doing. And my task, I don't mean fix my website, fix my homepage, none of that. Break it down teeny, tiny, tiny. Like redo one picture, redo one link, make it small. Honestly, make it so you can check the thing off of a calendar. The one thing you can learn, and you know what? Turned out one of the things I was learning was how to make jewelry. Yes, little, whether it ever becomes another side hustle or not, not important. It was something for me to do and to continue to learn. I started reading again, and because, yes, in the midst of the worst of it, of the overthinking and the fogginess, it was hard for me to even read. And I loved checking off I read something. I listened to a podcast. Learning comes in lots of different forms. I moved somehow. I would check those off in black. Done. I would be in community. I was thankful I was part of another small group of women. We'd originally been part of another course. We liked each other so much, we continued chatting. It's been really important on those Wednesday mornings to have those pals. It meant reaching out and going out in person, in real life, to see my friends and my girlfriends, even when that was hard to do. But do it. Do the minimum things that keep you going, because eventually going is going to get you unstuck. So if you're in that season of fog, of friction, just plain meh, well, here's your permission slip. If you need one, and here it is anyway, stop pushing. You're not behind. You are not broken. You're just human. So am I. So the You're Overthinking Marketing series will be back to more concrete tips, and we'll talk more about how you can't will yourself into consistency. What does consistency even really look like? Because it doesn't mean constant. And those other ways we can stop overthinking our marketing. How we continue to beat that spiral. How we can find our own sustainable marketing rhythms. How we can create a strategy, a system that helps us deal with these times that are going to continue to show up. We're going to respect our own life, our own energy, our own brains. But for now, find your minimum. Let it be enough. My minimum viable week helps you. If it helps you breathe a little bit easier, great. Hit subscribe. Maybe go repurpose a post you wrote back in March. I promise. Doing anything right now beats perfection and it beats total inaction. You've got this.